Okay, class, we're going to continue on where we left off on the last video, and we're going to look at project 2. Okay, this is the functions, the three functions. So we've already discussed the problem and it's been assigned, so this is the solution, but basically you're doing three functions and the date and time functions as required in the rubrics. So this is basically a solution done by a student, and we're going to go over it, take a look at it. So the first thing you need to know is what is a function. Okay, most of you, I'm sure, have been introduced to functions as far as math goes in just even in grade school probably. So a function is just a box, right? And that box does something, it performs something. So let's say this function just performs times 4. So you give it a number and it just multiplies it by 4. So we put in x equals 2, what comes out? Y equals 8. Okay, that's it. You're a function expert. All right, but in reality, so let's take a look at how functions work in code. Okay, so you have an idea of what a function is as you put something in it, you put something in and you get an output, and the function does something to the input data. You don't necessarily have to have input data, but this is one way, this is the major way to think about it. Okay, so this function does something to the input data. It multiplies it by 4. Okay, we've seen that. So let's go look at how this is used in code. So in code, let's say this blue box is your main script, your main code that you're writing. Well, you have a function down here, which could be your times 4, and then you have another one which is, let's say, plus 2. So the idea of a function is that it's something you're going to be doing over and over and over in code, right? So you don't want to, I mean, this is easy, times, what we have, times 4 is our function 1, but what if it's like you input uh you're trying to calculate the speed of your rocket to the moon, and it's got all these variables like um rocket fuel and weight and everything, just hundreds of variables, and it's a long huge calculation. Well, then you don't want to copy and paste this in your code every time you want to do that function. You just have this box that in this function and you call it. Let's go over here. So you literally call it. So let's say I'm on line 1, line 2, and now on line 2 I say, oh no, I need to calculate the how fast my rocket is going at this moment in time towards the moon. So you go to the function, you call the function, and then the function returns the value. It says, okay, you're going at 30,000 miles per hour, whatever. All right, so then you do line 2 and you say, oh, well, I need to call it again now. So you can call it again and get the new value. Okay. So you can just keep calling that function, the code literally, so you can skip, you walk through these lines of code and you can call functions. Well, let's say we need to go to function 2 now. Well, you can call function 2 and then function 2 will return the results right in the line of code. Now, the interesting thing is you don't have to have functions directly in the code, right? You can have another script, okay? You can have another script and you can have a function in that script. This just is a function, right? Okay, so in that case, you can even literally have the line of code call this function in this other file, and then it returns the answer. So it says, okay, whatever you want to do to this data, do it, and return the answer. Okay, I hope that's not totally confusing, but it's really not that difficult, and I think as we work through these examples, you're going to really see that it's not difficult. So basically, the assignment was to do three functions. One, they got progressively harder, and one was just a simple sum. And you can see here a student's done it. Let's do 5, and we'll do 7, and we'll do 8. Okay, so it looks like he got 20, which is pretty good. And then here we'll go ahead and test this factorial, which is just 5 times 4, which is 20, times 3, which is 60, which is 2 times 60, which should be 120. Okay, that looks good. All right, so then we're going to do the strings. The strings just pulls out the third word of a set of strings or element. And then we're going to do the dates, which just calculates days between 1 and 2, days between 2 and 3, days between 3 and 4. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the code. So he's included some CSS here, which you can see is this over here, which doesn't look real great, but I guess it gets the job done. All right, so we're going to walk through here. You've seen this before, header style, the PHP, that's where you put your CSS in. We've been through that. Okay, so then he goes into the body, and now he's doing PHP. He's doing his comment, function 1. Okay, function 1 is add number 1, which is a variable, equals 1, number 2 equals 2, number 3 equals 3. So, and then you want to return the sum of num1, num2, num3. Now, if you go over here and look, he says the default values are 1, 2, 3. So if nothing is passed for this parameter when the function is called, then it resorts to its default value. Otherwise, it's going to take whatever you pass to it, okay? So if you look at the way he's doing this, and this is typically done, I did this because to me it's kind of confusing initially to have the functions at the top, but this is typically the way you do it is you actually put your functions at the top and then you put your lines of code down here. So that's what he's done. If you see here, he's got a function 1, function 2, function 3, which is the recursive function, and then he's writing his code. So this he's put his functions up here, and that's the way you do it. It's just, to me, when in the initial introduction, it's more confusing to have your functions up front. Okay, so anyway, let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so hopefully you can see it. Okay, so the first one is super simple. We can see you just return the 3 numbers that you add, okay? So the string, we'll talk about explode. So explode, what you got to understand is you're creating functions like this, right? So you can create this function that does something, but at the same time, there's already many functions already created, and explode is one of them. And what it does is it splits a string by string, right? So it returns an array of strings, each of which is a substring of string formed by splitting it on the boundaries. Okay, so basically what he's doing is string 1, array 1, is string 1 and split it at the comma. So when I enter, so if you enter a value, if you enter like orange, comma, apple, comma, banana, then it splits it at the comma and saves that in the string array. Okay, maybe we'll do a quick example. Okay, if you, it's easier to show you than explain it. So if you, where we were, if you just scroll down, you'll see an example. So it's the variable pizza equals the string piece 1, piece 2, piece 3, piece 4, piece 5, piece 6. Okay, now it's splitting it at the white space. Here he's saying you have to be comma separated. So when you enter your string, it has to be piece 1, comma, piece 2 for his code because he's splitting it on the comma. They're splitting it on the white space. Okay, so now you have this pieces that says, okay, if I say pieces 0, remember the index always start at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I say pieces 0, then that's piece 1. If I say pieces 1, then that's piece 2. Okay, if I say pieces 2, then that's piece 3. You get the idea. Okay, so now remember about a string. Once you put it in quotation marks. This is now a string, right? And it's being converted to this string array. But what happens is you don't have to put only letters and numbers in here. You can put anything between these quotation marks, right? All right, so you get the idea. So basically, all he's done is he's broken these strings down into indexed arrays so that you can access each word individually, because what does he want to access? The third word, which is element 2. Okay, so he's just saying string array 2, concatenate that with a comma, string array 2 space 2, concatenate that with a comma, and then string array 3 2 dot comma. So you see there's the first string's passed, the second string's passed, the third string's passed. He's breaking them into indexed arrays, and then he's pulling out the third word of each array and concatenate them and echoing them. So that's exactly what he did, and you can, let's see if it works. So um, we'll enter, we'll just do letters, because you don't have to do, you don't really have to do a full word. Let's just keep this easy. Let's do A, B, C. And then here we'll do D, E, F. And then here we'll do H, I. Well, let's try to keep it in caps. H, I, J. Let's see what we get. Okay, and that's what we should get, because it pulled out the third element of each one. Um, let's see. Let's redo that. A, B. Let's try it like this, for example. A, B, C. J. Okay. Okay, so you see there, it's taking it in as a string. I shouldn't put the quotation marks on, okay? So I hope you see that difference. Okay, so, all right, so we've been through these two functions and recursion. I think most of you got the recursion. Um, you can pretty much work through this. I don't think I need to walk through everything, but basically, he's including a separate video here and a separate file. So this is what I was talking about, is if you go here, he's actually got a separate file with the recursion function right here, right? This is his recursion. So now you're starting to see what I'm talking about. He's got function 1, which is add 3 numbers, function 2, which is take the strings, uh, explode them into an indexed array, and then pull out the second element of each array, which is the third word, and then echo that out. Okay, here's the recursion function. So basically what's happening is when you go to this sheet and you push this submit button, when you push that submit button, it calls your code calls this line, the first function. When you push the other submit buttons, it calls the second one, which may be the string function and the recursion function. Okay. So here's his recursion. So he's just saying, you pass it a number like 5, If number equals 0, then return else number equals recursion, which is just calling a built-in. So I go here. Which is totally okay. Um, it calls a recursion function and number minus 1. So if it's 5, then it's recursion of 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's just calling itself back and forth, which is what it's supposed to be doing. Okay, so you got that. It's pretty simple. Okay. All right, so I hope you understand that. Basically, you're passing a number like 5. It's saying if it's 0, then go back. When it says return, when it says return, that means, okay, so you're in so let's say this line of code said call the recursion function. So you call it. So now it's going to keep looping through itself. It's going to keep calling itself right here. See that? It's calling itself. Recursion, that's the name of it. And it passes its own number back, which was um, -1. So if you sent 5, then it does number equals um, 5 times recursion of number -1, which is 4. So it's going to go through and say 5 times 4, then 5 times 3, and then 5 times 2, and 5 times 1 as it counts down. And then when it hits 0, it's going to return back to where it came from, the answer. And that's exactly what happens here when you go, um, that's exactly what happens when you work through here. And you put let's say you put 5 in there. We did that. But okay, so you get the idea. So looks like the 3 functions are working, and I'm not going to go over the date time functions because, all that exists out there in the world. All you have to do is really just copy and paste it. But if anybody just absolutely needs a walkthrough, let me know. But I think for now, even though, because I'm out of time on this video anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this video, and if I get a request, I'll do the recursion. I'll do the date time functions. But like I said, it should be fairly straightforward. All right, thanks.